Hello everybody, today we're going to be making some coasters. We're going to use some offcuts from cutting board production, so we're going to use some cherry, some walnut, and some ambrosia maple. Let's see how it goes. Here you see me on the left, my buddy Tanner's on the right. We're just going to plane some wood, so good thing to do is to get that rough edge off and clean it up by planing it. We have a 15-inch grizzly planer here, so it's a pretty commercial grade piece of equipment, but really you don't need that. All you need is a little benchtop one, little lunchbox planer. It's really no big deal to have a big one. As you see, we're running through pretty small pieces anyways. So the wood's getting smoothened out here, and hope to make a few sets of coasters. Typically we sell our coasters at craft fairs, and yeah, that's about it. Coasters are anywhere from $15 to $25, depending on the fair and depending on how pretty they are. Tanner's got the boards, and he's going to run through the jointer to get a nice smooth edge on them. As you can see me in the background, I'm running some end grain cutting boards through the drum sander. Check out our Instagram if you'd like to see more. Now we got all that, let's bring it over to the bandsaw. As you can see right here, we're setting the bandsaw up to be about 1/2 inch cuts because we want the final thickness of the coasters to be about 3/8 inch. That's important because a too thin of coaster is annoying, and a too thick of coaster is also annoying. Alright, Tanner's going to get started with the wood cutting. Alright, we're starting with the ambrosia. Personally, I really like using ambrosia maple because it's really unique. You see, years and years ago, ambrosia beetles came up here into the New England area and destroyed some of the maple trees. And ambrosia maple is seen as a defect in the wood. Little holes where the beetles used to be, but the beetles are gone now, and it makes for a beautiful piece of wood. I personally love using it because it's really unique, and my customers love it just as much as me. Many woodworkers kind of frown upon it, but honestly, they're coasters. Who really cares? They're really pretty, and you'll see at the end some beautiful photos of our coasters. So he's running it through, good little speed. We're running a 3/4 inch blade on this Jet 14-inch Deluxe bandsaw. It's a pretty decent bandsaw. I actually bought it for only $400 about 3 years ago from a guy I met at the local wood turning club. Real nice guy, and it was a fantastic deal, especially not much money in the pockets, and I was able to get this great bandsaw. I originally bought it to cut big chunks of wood down so I could turn it on the lathe, and then I quickly found out I'm not made for wood turning. About 4 or 5 weeks after buying the bandsaw, I did run my finger into the blade and got 9 stitches. I always tell people to be careful when they are using a bandsaw. And sometimes I'm on Facebook and I'm watching videos of woodworkers not using safety equipment, and it really scares me. Because that was a really scary moment for me. Alright, now we're cutting some cherry. Yeah, cherry is a beautiful wood too. Quite frankly, all the woods I use are beautiful because that's a big thing. You want to have quality control over your product. If you're using ugly wood, no one's gonna buy it, and that's really the key to making sales. Is just having pretty wood. Your products can sell themselves, but if they have prettier wood, they're gonna sell themselves easier. And quite frankly, I'm not really sure if they sell themselves because, sometimes, like Facebook. I post on Facebook trying to sell stuff every once in a while. Cutting boards, furniture. Tanner is setting our blade at probably about 3/16 of an inch so we can cut some thin strips for our coasters just like we do for our cutting boards. Stay tuned for the cutting board video in a week or so. Got a busy week. 4th of July is coming up, so I don't really know what's going to happen. So as you see, Tanner's cutting really, really, really thin strips. And this will just really add to the coasters, make them real pretty. As you can see me in the left, I am sanding an end grain board. That's why I'm hardly moving, because end grain boards take a really long time to sand, but they do turn out really nice. So now we're at the drum sander. Now we use the drum sander so that we can take off the nasty, nasty edge that the thin strips have. This is a 16 32 jet drum sander. This was kind of like my dream tool, then I got it, and it's a nice tool. It's just not as like awesome as I thought it would be. Like, I don't know, it's just not very powerful, but it's a drum sander. I'm pretty good with it now, but okay. Now this is the fun part. This is where we like to make a lot of the reels. People really like watching these videos, so a rule of thumb for when we design coasters or cutting boards is to not let the same piece of wood touch another piece of wood. Basically meaning we don't want maple touching maple, cherry touching cherry, or walnut touching walnut. Now walnut is by far the best contrasting wood between the two, but we do allow cherry to touch ambrosia, but we like to put walnut in between as much as we can because it leads to high contrast, and contrast is one of my favorite things personally. Now you can do a glue up any way you want. If you want to do one at a time, totally okay. Woodcraft, I'm gonna give them a little shout out here, even though we have like 10 subscribers, but maybe Woodcraft will see this. They do deals on these little F-style clamps, as you can kind of see in the right hand side. There's a little one. They sell them for like $3 to $5 every once in a while. It's like 40% off F-style clamps. Highly recommend them. I bought like 10 the last time I went, just because it's such a good deal. They come in handy for jigs, anything. I mean, you saw us using them on the bandsaw. But right now Tanner's gluing the coasters. So since they're so thin, you don't actually have to spread out the glue. Just give it a good bead, and then when you do glue it, when you clamp it, the glue will squeeze out, and you'll get that nice glue spread. Alright, so now we're taking the coasters out of clamps. As you see, Tanner used the F-style clamp there. Now, when Tanner was doing this, he actually exploded one of the coasters. So he clamped it too tight, and they all went flying. So don't clamp too tight. You know, as long as you have a good edge, you'll be all set. We're passing through the boards through the planer, shaving them down, making them look nice. Alright, now we're running them through the drum sander to flatten them. Well, not to flatten them. They're already flat. We just want to, instead of sanding each coaster individually, Tanner does still do that, but we'd like to get the tops to have a nice finish, because the planer, it's a Sheelix head. It leaves an okay finish, but not a beautiful one. Alright, so now, this is where it gets real fun. We even have multiple angles for this. So, we make all our coasters in 16-inch blanks, even though the desired thickness at the end is 3.5 by 3.5 per coaster. But we do start in 16-inch lengths just so we have that extra space in case anything goes wrong. So what we do is we set up a stop block for the width of the coaster, and then we cut all four. Now we're on the router. We like to do a bevel. A bevel's just really appealing. It looks nice. Roundovers can look really uneven on these coasters because they're so tiny. An 1/8-inch roundover is really not that much. And when I spent $30 on an 1/8-inch roundover bit, I thought it was going to be really cool, but an 1/8-inch roundover is really lame. So we do a bevel instead. And Tanner's just kind of running through. He's being very, very careful because we don't want to have any kickback, so we want good downward pressure. And we're just kind of pushing it around, you know, having fun. As you can see, some ambrosia in these coasters. They look really pretty. People are going to love these. We got a big fair coming up this weekend called the Berkshire Arts Festival. It's in the Berkshires. We're from Massachusetts, by the way. You know, Wicked, Red Sox, Harvard, Pack the Cat, Haber, Lobster, Clam Chowder. You know what I'm saying? So I got this killer deal at Ace Hardware. I got a box of sandpaper for $150, and it came with all these big old, like, 1 foot long sheets of sandpaper. What he's using right now is $150, but it also came with like 20 boxes of 50 discs per box of like lower grit sandpapers, which was really, really nice to have, because it's nice for like rough work and stuff, especially on the end grain boards. I started at 60. So what Tanner's doing here is he's taking off any flaky edges. So if there's any splintering, he's taking those off. And he's just giving every edge a nice feel because the router doesn't leave the greatest feel. Now for the finish, we use mineral oil. Mineral oil is the finish that we do on coasters, so it's food safe. Really, the reason why we use mineral oil is because it's a pretty finish. and it's not incredibly labor intensive. There's no reason to be doing polyurethane on these coasters because it's such an extra added step that's just really not necessary. A big question we get at craft fairs is, do these coasters absorb water? And sadly, they don't. It's wood. Wood coasters don't absorb water. If anyone else made it, please send me a link. I would love to learn. But it's not like cork or stone that can absorb water. It's more just to look pretty. Alright, now for our photos. Thank you everyone so much for watching. We're really trying stuff here. So if you have any advice for us in the future, I would love to hear it because we need it. Stay tuned for our cutting board video, which will be coming out probably next 1 or 2 weeks from now. And have a great day.